Hey there, hope you're having a fantastic day in your neck of the woods. This is Michael Does Life, and thank you so kindly for joining us once again, folks, as we continue to talk about this all new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3. Unfortunately, we have a lot of fake Resident Evil fans in the building as of late. And it's so unfortunate because these fake Resident Evil fans who think they have that certified badge because they came from Fortnite to this all new edition of Resident Evil 2, these fake Resident Evil fans are unfortunately steering this franchise in the wrong direction. I had many problems with this all new edition of Resident Evil 2. And the Fortnite fans that came from Fortnite to this all new edition of Resident Evil 2 were too busy going, doing stupid, silly crap like that. And us real old school Resident Evil fans, well, we were left in the dust. However, with that said, because I had many problems here with this all new edition of Resident Evil 2, I am still hopeful for what Capcom has to offer with an all new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3, because here's the reality of the situation. It is a second chance, a second opportunity to say, hey, let's fix what didn't necessarily tick in this all new edition of Resident Evil 2 and kind of remedy that in this all new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3. In addition to that, they can also look at this all new edition of Resident Evil 2 and say, hey, let's take what was good and turn it into something that's great here in this all new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3. Again, it's their second chance, their second opportunity to potentially hit that home run here with this all new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3 if they play their cards right. So what can you do to help make this all new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3 come to fruition? Well, earlier this year, and you might have heard this before if you aren't new here, but if you are new here, earlier this year, the producer of this all new edition of Resident Evil 2 had this to say about the possibility of an all new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3. He basically said, hey, if you want to see this all new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3 come to fruition, you have to let us know. And after all, that's how this all new edition of Resident Evil 2 came about. You know what I mean? Many fans were clamoring for a Resident Evil 2 remake. And after many years, Capcom finally decided to pull that curtain back to unveil this all new edition of Resident Evil 2. So we're once again in that cycle. Make your voices heard. If you have a YouTube channel, join in the conversation. That's what Capcom is literally asking for us to do. Us real Resident Evil fans, anyway. Now, I know you guys are going to sit there and say, oh, Mako. Again, too busy doing stupid, silly crap like that. I know you guys are going to sit there and say, oh, here we go again, Michael. Why do you clickbait? I've already explained this, but with that said, let me go ahead and explain it again. I clickbait to help potentially spread awareness about this all-new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3. We need as many eyeballs on the situation as possible, and clickbaiting is one way for me to get as many eyeballs on the situation as possible. Is it disingenuous? Sure, but at the end of the day, this is what Capcom is asking for us to do. Now, I know you guys are going to sit there and say, well, come on now, Michael. Every video is the same. You literally make the same video over and over and over and over again. There are thousands and thousands of people who watch this channel on a daily basis. With that said, it's a very high possibility that someone might be here for the very first time. And if they are new here, I need to let them know that, hey, if you want to see this all new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3 come to fruition, this is what you need to do. Join in the conversation. Make your voices heard. Duh! So, with that said, hopefully I've explained it enough so that you get a good understanding on where we are at. With that said, folks, show Capcom your support by hitting that like button down below. And I'll see you soon once we have, hopefully sooner rather than later, more word on this all-new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3. That's what the fake Resident Evil fans do.